Today, I have invited a very special guest. His name is Ashutosh Garg. He's an entrepreneur, the fastest growing company, in my opinion, for sure, and fastest growing unicorn or unicorn status he has achieved. But the biggest thing about him is he is really, I find, a student of life. And if you go back and look at his career, he has spent almost 10 years in understanding how artificial intelligence or technology works and how you build a company on that. Ashu, welcome to our show.
Thank you, Sanjiv. It's a pleasure and honor to be here today.
Welcome. So Ashutosh, I'm going to ask the toughest question first. Do you have a confession for our audience?
I thought a lot about it. I am not an avid reader.
That is surprising. That is surprising. I don't believe that, but that's okay.
Now that I said it, it's easy, right?
So, Ashutosh, you are an IIT Delhi graduate. You
Yeah.
completed your undergrad in 96. What was your hostel?
Karakoram.
Go Kara. I'm
Exactly.
sure there will be some listeners from Kara today.
Go Kara.
So, Ashutosh, you started Eightfold roughly around 6 years ago.
Yes. So we started actually 5 years ago in late 2016.
So can you talk a little bit about how you came up with the idea of starting a company?
I think this will also fall into the bucket of little bit confession that quite a few times I believe that I'm just a student of luck or a creation of luck, just being at the right place at the right time, things happen. And Eightfold is one of those things. I wasn't planning to do anything in HR space or employment space or talent space. There were two things that happened. One was I was actually planning to start something in healthcare space. And the primary buyer of HR, healthcare being HR benefits department, I was talking to a number of HR leaders in the country. Second thing is I was at the same time mentoring some other people for their HR tech idea. And there was a moment where I realized is that normally we think of doing good for society and we think of education and healthcare, but employment is at the heart of everything.
Yeah, so true.
If we can provide people the right career, right employment, most other things in our society will get solved. Second, realizing that actually employment is a data problem.
True.
Who should study what? How should they think of their career? What are the capabilities each person has? How they can further advance in their career? Can we learn from the data of other people and apply to each person?
True.
And third is the economic opportunity that comes with it is insanely large. I say HR is actually a $50 billion industry, whereas talent, employment is a $1 trillion industry.
Well, everything is related, right? We need people to get things done. Doesn't matter what industry are we.
Exactly. So as I thought about that, a data problem that is in my wheelhouse, large market, large business with a very meaningful social cause.
If I may say, Ashutosh, I disagree with what you said is a lie. I understand that you pivot when you started with the idea, you were focused on healthcare and you pivot to talent management, or really how can we improve the balance between the skill set and what kind of opportunities are there. Am I right?
Yes.
So we all understand it's $1 trillion plus industry. That's one key aspect of it. But why AI? Why couldn't we solve this problem in the traditional ways? What is so unique about AI? Because this whole thing, this industry is around for ages, right? For, I will say centuries, not for last 10, 20 years.
I think there's nothing special about AI. What I say is AI is an ultimate human scaler. What are computers good at? They can process large amounts of data. They can do it at a very lightning speed. Mm-hmm. They can have almost infinite memory and access to that in real time. And one more thing which we don't normally talk about is computers have an ability to forget and ignore things, which humans don't.
That's impressive. I never thought about that. Forget.
And when it comes to human biases, they come in because we can't forget and ignore things. So today, how do we do, if you think of recruiting, right? How do we do it based on the pattern matching, based on the few people we know personally.
Yeah, pretty much.
When we were in IIT, in our second year, we will ask our seniors from the fourth year, which college you are applying to, what is needed for that application process, and let me do the same thing. You would ask your seniors from your hostel. If you can do even better, you can ask from the seniors from the entire department and entire college. If you can do even better, you can ask across the entire IIT ecosystem, right?
True.
With AI, what I can do is I can, instead of learning from those 10, 50, 100 people, I can learn from the data of each and every individual on this planet.
You had to spend more than 10 years when you did undergrad, even master's, and your PhD is in computer science or electronics. You have spent a lot of time even with IBM Labs. You were the fellow there, which is a pretty big deal for our audience if you don't know. What did you find different working with a company like IBM and then running your own startup?
Theory is good, but it only goes so far. When the rubber hits the road.
Exactly.
You have to make it work, right?
It's like overnight success, 10 years in making. So you took 20. So I disagree with the luck. You prepared for it for almost 25 years. You graduated in 96. So if you do the math, it's 25 years of work.
I graduated in 97, but yes.
97,
long
okay.
time.
I'll do 24 years,
sure,
you get one more.
I think luck is about coming across the right problem. I believe everything is by a chance. You have to be prepared, right? You have to do your bit, right?
Suggestions for our audience. If they want to start a company or they wanted to look at the whole AI space and see what kind of opportunities are there, what they can or cannot do, that'll be very helpful if you can talk about that. And especially now you have so much intelligence. I'm assuming that you have like terabytes or petabytes of data today to process and really help organizations and people pick the right choices or career choices.
I mean, given the space we are in, I was thinking about a problem that, talking to some friends, how Bay Area has become an extremely expensive place.
Yeah.
The compensation is through the roof, right?
True.
At the same time, companies like Google, Facebook are doing a phenomenal job at what they're doing.
Yeah.
So that got me thinking, is that what is a startup's strategic advantage? Mm-hmm. What makes a startup succeed in today's time and age, right?
Yeah.
And because if you come in and say that I can do it better than what Google can do or Facebook can do, good luck. No, I don't think that is the case.
Well, they have the best of the best talent.
They can hire anyone.
Yeah.
They have the best talent. They have access to all the compute in the world and all the resources in the world, right? So you're not going to compete on that access.
Yep.
What you have to do is few things. What is your strategic insight in the problem space, in the data space, in a go-to-market side? Like today, HR tech, what we are doing sounds very obvious. 4.5 years back, 5 years back, when we were starting the company, most people ask me like, why are you going into HR space of all the things that you can do in life, right? So my insight was that, no, this is a problem which is going to be big in the long term. Mm-hmm. This is going to be strategic in the long term. It might have a slow start, but I can do it. My strategic advantage was that people can LinkedIn do this? Can HRIS systems like Workday SuccessFactors do this? And realizing that people's data is neither on LinkedIn or public databases, nor in internal enterprise databases. It is distributed across thousands of different systems.
True.
So I need to stitch it together. So you have to really think about what is your strategic advantage in the problem. What is it that you understand or what insight you have that no one else has? And if it comes across as a very obvious insight, something is wrong. Because then, and if it comes across as an obviously large market, something is wrong. So think about a problem. Think about how you can tackle it in a very different way, provided you have access to data, provided you have access to compute. How are you going to the market? How are you going to price it? You have to think about each of those cases.
Yeah, so we both understand today, technology is not really the entry barrier. Google's and Facebook of the world made technology pretty easy and accessible to everybody. A guy sitting in Africa or even Mexico, someplace in a small town, can build companies like anything because you have cloud and everything. It's about the idea you have and how you execute.
Correct.
And that can be part of go-to-market strategy, that can be access to the data, that can be understanding the problem differently, that can be a very narrow market size, but which can be pretty big too. I mean, I remember, I met bump into Kamal a few years ago in London, and I said, "Hey, what are you doing here?" And he said, "Oh, I'm with Eightfold now." I said, "What Eightfold?" He said, "They're in HR." He said, "There is another company in HR now." So, and we had a good time. We chatted about it. And today you are a unicorn. And the reason I'm bringing that term to the people is yesterday's Ashutosh, who was studying in IIT Delhi, he was going to Kara, built a unicorn in less than 5 years. So opportunities are there. Anything you want to do is possible. And there are people like him, and there is a huge network we have globally, almost 500 million IITians. We are willing to help. But it's all about execution. It's all about go-to-market. What Ashutosh said is, it's not really about technology. It's not really about just the idea. It's about how you go to market and can you execute better than anybody else, especially in that niche. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ashutosh.
Just keep doing, keep executing, keep learning, keep growing, and you'll get there.
So let's talk a little bit about your IIT days. You were in Kara, IIT Delhi. Any interesting memory, anything interesting about you would like to share from that time?
Key thing I would say, the learning over there was the internal competition at some level, the drive to succeed and win. At some level, what I remember is we showed up on day one. You feel like you are at the top of the world, right? Everyone is like, you got into IIT, you're the best, right? The first quiz, math, whatever that MA 101 happened, and you realize that actually you're at the bottom of the world.
Yeah.
You got 2 out of 10 or 1 out of 10 or 0 out of 10.
somehow get 8 points and get out of this place.
And then you stand up again and you are like, okay, fine, I will still try. I will keep trying and keep fighting, right? I will take that blow, right? I think that training we got is phenomenal. That is what life is about. And especially when I'm doing a startup, right? It's one of those things. So this is my second startup. And many of us have gone through the same thing. There was a day I had a 300% team at my previous startup. I have an EA assistant, all kind of things, all kind of help, support needed, right? Next day you show up in a room all by yourself, no support, nothing. You're back to square one.
Yeah.
And you again build and you again fight. And you keep doing that day in, day out.
True.
And I think that was the training that we got at IIT. That you could be the topper before joining, you could be back to square one. You can again stand up, you can again fight, you can again continue.
So never giving attitude definitely is one. But what I find about IIT is the way the whole curriculum is set up. It's no different than any other institution. The only difference I find is our professors really push us to almost to a limit where sinking is not even an option. So you have to swim. And another big thing I find is there was an amazing team spirit. Even if we were competing with each other, there was amazing team spirit when it comes to problem solving, discussing how to solve the problems. I remember the night out where we were just sitting and spending whole night solving 5 problems. And that makes it very, very unique, which I believe is very unique to IIT. And second one I find it is our systematic thinking approach. That's what I learned. How do you solve a problem with a system? Because typically when you say the luck is not systematic, but problem solving is systematic. So once you understand the real problem, which can be a luck, but how do you solve it?
And I think you're right about that, right? I'll give you one example of that. Recently, this year itself, someone was asking me, Ashu, IIT is so competitive. So were you never worried about helping other people? And it never occurred to me or to anyone.
To anyone.
Yes, competition is there. But at the same time, helping was part of the ecosystem, right? You just have to do that. You don't even think twice about it, right? And then on the problem solving, I think you're right that big picture, holistic thinking, really think about the implication of what we are doing and how we are approaching it was so ingrained, right? Every project we did, every course we did. with a chat like Professor S.C. Datta Roy. I don't know if you remember him.
I remember the name.
He came to our class, circuit theory class. One of the lectures, he was like, there's this book by Professor Kuo that all of you are reading, and you have to solve this problem. And he was like, he has described a graphical way of solving this circuit, but he has not described this thing because I don't think he knew how to do it, right? And if any one of you can do it, I will ask him to edit your name to the book.
Nice.
Guess what? Next day, everyone showed up, sir, I have an answer. I know how to do that.
Wow. That's like...
That is the system, right? It was pushed to the limits on one hand, pushed to the creativity, really thinking about the first principles, right?
No, that's absolutely true. And the problems we were given were definitely really impossible problems. The approach is same. How do you solve a problem, one problem, another problem? It's again, goes back to the same systematic thinking. So let's broaden it a little bit. Now, where you are, you have built a very successful company and Eightfold is going places and you are solving some real problem. So let's talk about one real problem which I'm dealing with on the behalf of IITs. As you may know that I was conference chair of last event. IITs are also looking for ways how they can make the difference and make the quality of students' life better. What they should be doing, what they shouldn't be doing, what kind of courses they should take. Where do you see a system like yours can help build the next level of workforce, next level of next generation, so they don't have to go through a lot of the grit we have gone through?
I will say less question the grit part. I think it's okay. More is the opportunity. How do we provide them more opportunity, right?
Mm-hmm.
And IIT is a fantastic network. But today, unfortunately, the visibility into that network is very minimal.
True.
Like if I want to know what are the 300 people from my batch are doing today, actually it's non-trivial to figure that out. And how what I'm doing is going to shape my career, that data does not exist.
Yeah.
Or even when I go back to our elective courses, right, how these courses are going to impact my long-term career. What, many of us were desperate to see how can we get a silver medal, or we might have given up, or those projects, summer projects, or whatever we did, right? What is the implication of that on our long-term career? Now, the beauty is that all the data exists, is not easily accessible. So one thing I would offer to IIT alumni, and happy to work with whoever, right, is building a network of all the IITians in one place. Well,
we have tons of data.
Not just at the level of email address and phone number.
Agree.
A detailed career trajectory.
So, but that's doable, Ashutosh.
And mapping it back to where it all started.
But I will go backward or forward. We are all out and all that. We can get tons of data or some data from different social media channels and all. Let's focus on the next generation. Yes. Because until we equip them with the right tools, we can't build the companies of the future. Because the problems they are going to deal with is multifold than the problem you and me are dealing with. That's a fact. 20 years later, these problems which you and me are talking about will not even exist. So fundamental problems will be there, but the complexity of these problems will be much bigger. For example, even workforce, they need different kind of training, different kind of a skill set. When we talk about food, we will have different problems because we only have 10 billion plus people. We talk about housing, we need different kind of housing infrastructure. So yes, the basic fundamentals needs of humans will remain same, but the problems will be different. In the sense, this problem will be multifold, or problems will be more exponential. So what can we do? So we can work with the IIT institution system and all other institution systems. It's not just about IIT, and create a system where we can help students pick what makes sense to them, rather than they are hoping that magically something will come to them.
I would say that the 2-3 parts, right? The reason I took a pause when you said our problems will change, right, is in a very genuine fashion. One of my biggest learnings over the last 4.5 years is that I only have people problems in the company. Okay. Everything else is actually secondary. Because as a CEO, I can't close all the deals myself. I can't write all the code myself. I can't design all the product myself. I can't do any of that work. But what I can do is identify who is performing, who is not performing, where are the gaps, who to complement, how to grow, nurture, inspire people. That's all I can do.
Okay.
And that problem of fundamental thing about people will remain for a long, long time.
Okay.
And the space I come from in my current business, right? Now I more and more see this as the fundamental thing of our society. See, when I was in IIT, right, back in those days, I used to complain that they never taught us even one programming language. Not realize that actually those programming languages don't matter, the basics and fundamentals matter.
True.
Right? Why are we training 50 people in civil engineering and 50 people in computer science when the demand of computer science is 500 people and civil engineering is 5 people? How is our curriculum aligned with the demand of the industry of today in the future? So I think that is one big area, understanding what are the skills of the future,
Exactly.
what are the demands of the industry, how the curriculum can be aligned to that stuff.
So I would like to have a separate session with you. In future, I'll reach out to you. I have a couple of people, including the director of IIT Delhi. Let's talk about it. Really, how do we build that world-class infrastructure going forward for the kids? We have a few more minutes. Do you have any parting message for our audience?
IIT is the strongest community that I know of. I am here today because of all the support, guidance, help I got from the network, the alumni, the professors over there. So I'm really, really grateful to that. And anything I can do to ever help any IITian, I'm here in your service.
Ashutosh, I can't thank you enough for your time. And again, Radio Zindagi, thank you very much for having me on the show. And all our audience, because of you, we have the show. Do send me your comment, send me your feedback. We are all here and we would love to talk to you and respond to your questions.
Thank you. Thanks for hosting.
Thanks, Ashutosh.